How's it going, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great afternoon or great evening so far. So I just had a weird conversation, and I think it's one that warrants having some words being spoken to it. Because I said the exact same things to this young lady, even though she wasn't a young lady. She was older than me. So, but for respect factor here, um, losing a spouse. Now this is at any age because it seems like anybody can pass away for any reason, right? It's not just natural causes. I mean, right? So, she asked me an honest question, and rightfully so, honest question. Because age should never be a factor. It shouldn't matter how old a person is, right? If you guys hit it off, it is what it is, right? Um, but she asked me just because I was a guy in the room, or right? Would you date somebody who was a widower or was a widow or who lost their spouse? Because she's like, I'm. It's been a few years, and I'm really ready for to get back out there, and it's just been so long since I've been out in the field, if you will, right? That I just and I could tell that she had a lot of anxiety. I could tell that she had a lot of. She was ready to get back out there, right? And then I asked her, I'm like, so how long were you and your hubby together? And she said, well, we were together for 45 years. And I'm like, okay. And then I asked her a really deep and hard question, and this one went right to her soul, I think. I'm like, so because you guys were together so long, and I'm sure you guys still live in the same. I'm sure you still live in the same house that you guys shared, right? And she nodded at me. I'm like, whoa. So do you still have pictures? Do you still have artifacts of his? Do you still have gifts that he's given you? Do you still have that? She looked at me and she nodded. Then I could tell her eyes welled up with tears, and I wasn't trying to negatively confront her. I was just trying to help her understand where I was going and trying to be intentional with her. I'm like, okay, so you say that you're ready, right? And she nodded. And I could tell that she was starting to get emotional, so I put my hand across the table and I took her hands in mine as a way of showing sympathy and empathy. I'm like, I gotta ask you a hard question. She nodded and she looked at me and she was waiting readily. And I said, so if you're ready to move on, has a thought ever come to mind to get rid of his stuff so you can make room for somebody else? And that's where the situation got a little awkward. She looked at me and she's like, I got a lot of stuff of his still in the house. She's like, I don't know if I can get rid of it. I'm like, well, okay. Rightfully so. You're with the guy for 45 years. But at the same time, if you're ready to get back out there and get dating again, you're still a beautiful woman. You're only in your late 60s. There's still time for all that, right? But you've got to make room by getting rid of what was his, so that way whatever comes in anew has room to grow. Think of it like a garden situation, right? And she kind of smiled because she was a gardener, and that's why I use this as a way of lightening the mood, right? And bringing it back to a positive spot, right? I'm like, think of the garden situation, okay? If you just replant the same spot, the same stuff, the same vegetables, the same fruits, whatever, in the same spots, year after year after year after year, and then something happens, and there might be a possible need for changing something, and you don't change it, what might possibly happen to that garden? She looked at me, and she got this. She got almost this warm, but just deep in thought look on her face. She's like, you're absolutely right. If I want to move on, I have to get rid of his stuff. I have to stop that emotional cycle. I have to be ready for whatever might come in next. I'm like, you're catching on, right? Because you can't build on the old, right? If someone is no longer there, the longer you hold on to the stuff, the longer you hold on to the energy of all that, the longer you keep him there or her there, depending on the situation, you're basically hanging out with ghosts. If that makes any sense, right? Even though the person is no longer there, the more that you still have the pictures and the knickknacks and the stuff that you accrued with him or her, their ghost is still going to stay there as long as you're still hanging on to the stuff that that encourages memories of him, because you're always, or her, because you're always going to have memories of them right here and up here, and that's nothing that nobody can take away. But if I was to date you, and I threw this at her for an instance, but if I was to date you and for me to walk into your home and to see stuff of him, that would, and he's been gone for a few years, that would tell me that you're not actually ready to move on. And she nodded in understanding. Like she's like, okay, yeah. But absolutely, if you're absolutely ready, I don't care about age, I would absolutely date you. Absolutely. But if I knew that you were actually ready, because you have to be ready in your heart and in your mind. You can say you're ready, but actions will always speak louder than words. But that's for my older folks out there. That's for the folks out there who have lost somebody dear to them. Just know my heart goes out to you. Love you guys. Hope you're having a great day. Until next time.